Have you ever given up on your dreams simply because you were fearful, or you wanted others to live their dreams, or there was pressure from society? Have you ever been abused and tolerated abuse once again because of fear or expectations of others? Have you ever given up on love because of parental and societal pressures? I have, and it's time to stop that. It's time to change our reality to fit our dreams and not change our dreams to fit our reality. Join me on this journey to discuss exactly how to do that. I was born in India, a land of contradictions. On the one hand, we have immense greatness. We have great leaders who led India to its independence. Leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, or Sardar Patel. We have exemplary martyrs like Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev, the names I grew up with as a child, who were part of the independence movement and who gave up their lives to see India free. We've had great conquests. India has been ruled by many dynasties, from the Portuguese to the people from the Great Britain, to the Mughals and Mongols, you name it, India has been ruled by them. But they've defeated the enemy time and time again to rise out of the ashes. India has incredible love. The mothers that gave birth to these martyrs, to these leaders, and to the awakened souls. India is also a land of awakenings. Yoga and Ayurveda were born there. Buddha was also born there. That created one of the most amazing disciplines in how to live your life. There are more religions perhaps in India that have been birthed than anywhere else in the world. The earliest civilization was discovered right next to India, in the Indus Valley. On the other hand though, we have barbaric traditions and unconscionable practices. We have the caste system, untouchables. I remember how the woman who came to clean our home was not allowed to sit in the sofa. The plate in which she was served the food and the glass in which she drank the water was kept separate from everybody else. And I accepted that as a child growing up. We have this absolutely unspeakable abuse of women. From the old practice of sati, where the widow was burned on the funeral pyre of the husband, to bride burning today because of dowry. The amount of money and the amount of wealth and things that a bride is supposed to bring to the groom's house. We have the concept of marrying a virgin when men can do whatever they want. We have child marriage. On top of that, women are expected to accept the abuse that they tolerate time and time again in their homes. It's not just an accepted custom, it's an expected custom. That, to me, is incomprehensible. How can a country with such immense greatness have such barbaric practices? The worst of all are female feticide and infanticide. Children, babies, who are selectively picked because they are females, while they are fetuses, and when they are born, they're exterminated, they're aborted, selectively. It is estimated that about 500,000 female fetuses and infants disappear every day, or every year rather, in India. I have 2 daughters. I just cannot even imagine the pain of a parent who has to destroy a fetus or a child because of one custom, and that's dowry. Imagine the pain of a father who doesn't have enough savings, and the mother who's living in poor conditions, who has to decide whether this child should live or not because they're expected to give large sums of money in marriage to some groom who barely even knows this woman, this child. That is unconscionable. I have personal experience of many of these. I'm going to recount a few to you, and then we will walk through why this must stop. My mom, I remember when one time she was physically hit by my father and her lip was bleeding. And my grandma arrived the next day and she saw what happened. She asked my mom. My mom said she hit the bathroom door or something, some lame excuse. But my grandma knew better. But what she said after that blew my mind. She said to my mom, "These things happen. You have to keep peace. He's your husband. He takes care of the family. Let it go." When I think about that now, I can't even imagine why I accepted those words. I had a gay friend who couldn't come out until his father died. Why is that permitted in a society in today's world? My two daughters went through physical and emotional abuse at the hands of some people during their years at college and universities. And they wouldn't share this with anyone, except, of course, their parents and some close friends. Why is it? Now, men are abused too, like I was. I was a child when I went through my personal sexual abuse. But I can guarantee you that if I had raised a voice, I would have been told, "Don't do this," or "You're lying," or "You're making it up." And in fact, when I did come out a couple of years ago about this story, my family said to me, "Why are you talking like this? This happens all over, all the time." How is it that one society can have such greatness and these unconscionable practices? And we must stop that. Now, this is my story, but this is also our narrative. And as we all recall Eric Garner's words in 2017, "I can't breathe." He said that 11 times in a chokehold. I can't breathe either. And I know you cannot breathe either, because you have suppressed your dreams for far too long, because you have lived this life to fit someone else's reality for way too long. And it's time to stop making our dreams fit our reality. But it's time to change and create our reality to fit our dreams. These words have been echoing inside us for time immemorial, that I can't breathe. So today, we will use science and ancient wisdom as our guide. And we will use this collective consciousness, and most importantly, our inner strength that has been sitting quietly somewhere, but has been our companion all through, to lead us in this journey. I'll give you 5 ways on how to potentially let these embers rise out of the ashes and light a spark which can start a fire so you can live the life you've imagined. A life of free abandon, a life of joy, of peace, and most importantly, of respect that we all deserve as our birthright. So the acronym we're going to use today, like we use in pretty much every episode, is trust. The first T is for truth. This is your truth. This is my truth. This is our truth. Whatever that truth is, it needs to come out. And there are 3 ways, simple ways, that you can allow it to emerge. The one precondition for that is vulnerability. That's the first way. We've done a whole episode on vulnerability and how to find that courage. Authors like Brené Brown have written extensively and talked extensively about vulnerability and why you are worthy of love and belonging, and finding that courage inside you to become vulnerable so that that authenticity can come out. The second is mindfulness. We've discussed mindfulness also in a variety of ways, whether it's taking a walk in the forest, or mindfully eating or breathing, or mindfully writing something down, sitting down and playing with your children mindfully, being present in the moment will help you identify your personal truth. For me, the most important of the 3 is silence. Silence speaks to you. There is something magical about silence. When you're by yourself, whether there's nature around you or not, but none of that chatter in your mind is bothering you, that's when the real truth emerges. That's when you get messages from sources that you can't even explain, that help you truly uncover the light that has been covered by the darkness. That is your truth. The second is R for resilience. Resilience to actually create our own reality. And resilience is not a birthright of a few. In fact, University of Pennsylvania, under the leadership of Dr. Martin Seligman, is training the entire 1.2 million strong armed forces of the United States in resilience. It is something we can learn. In fact, resilience theory will tell you that it's a process. You face adversity, and then you go through some processing of that adversity, and then there's the outcome. The processing deals with thoughts, emotions, and actions. The T loop that we've discussed in our episode on discovering your inner potential. So shifting the perspective on how you manage your thoughts that affect the emotions, which affect your actions, is how you deal with adversity. And that's what builds resilience. But one important component of resilience is time and intentionality. You need patience. It won't happen overnight. You need to spend the time working through it. The 10,000-hour rule that has been discussed in several books and literature, Malcolm Gladwell has written about it in Outliers. What does it take to actually get to be resilient in the face of adversity? The best part about it is that you and I can do it, no matter how weak you feel. This is not a war against you, it's a war against our thoughts and emotions and actions, which can be retrained. The brain can be rewired. There's an adage in the world of psychology that says neurons that fire together wire together, and we can shift which neurons are firing in your brain to make you resilient. The U is understanding not only who you are, but understanding for the purposes of self-forgiveness and forgiving those who have abused you, who have used you, who have covered you with darkness, who have let your dreams die. It's time to let that go. The way to do that is with 3 A's. The first A is awareness. Awareness of where this trauma sits in you. What does it do to you? How does it play out in your actions and in your thoughts and your emotions? Becoming completely aware of that. Second A is acceptance. Accepting that you've gone through that reality, that you've gone through that incredible amount of trauma, but you've also had some amazing winning moments that should not only make you resilient, but give you hope that even though you've been put down by the ashes, your embers have been burning below it. Accepting that that's happened to you is very important. Then the third A is to allow. Allowing your feelings to flow through you, whatever that is, without obviously harming someone else or harming yourself. Whether it's anger or sadness, deep sadness, to cry, to grieve, whatever it is, you're allowed to do that. Don't let anyone judge you to not be able to go through it. That self-forgiveness is a prerequisite for the healing process to begin. The S is the support mechanism. All of us are made differently, and we all find support in different ways. There is one aspect of support that should be absolutely non-negotiable, and that is it should be non-judgmental. Now, whether you need to go to a therapist, or if you need some medications, or you simply need the support of parents and family and your friends, all of those things are valid. The idea about support is a connection with whoever it is that is going to give you the support. In my case, my support came from my friends and family, but most importantly, from a bigger power, bigger than myself and bigger than everyone else. I call that power God. You may call it a higher consciousness. Whatever the name you want to give it, that connection, the non-judgmental support to tide you through this time is incredibly important. The final T is thrive, but thriving together. And it's again a question of mindset. Carol Dweck, professor of psychology at Stanford University, has written a book called The Growth Mindset, or just Mindset. And she talks about the growth mindset. Now, the growth mindset has one very important aspect, and that's the attitude of how we process information. If something bad happens, do we call ourselves completely incapable of everything, that we are just not good enough, that this happened because we just don't know how to do anything? Or is it because this particular event that just took place happened and I wasn't able to deal with it, but I know that I've done other things that have been right in my life, where I have won, where I have conquered, where I have been victorious, and I can deal with this too. It's called a growth mindset. And there's a lot of deep study that has been done with children and adults to understand how to bring that mind shift. To thrive, you need to be able to shift that attitude, that frame of mind, that all of this that's happening around you is something that you can change. There are certain things you cannot that are out of your control, but even as Sonja Lyubomirsky has talked about the how of happiness, 50% might be genetic or a set point. The 40% of the overall 100% ratio is something you can change. It's in your control. It's only 10% slice that potentially is something you cannot do anything about. So shifting that mind frame to thrive, to rise above these ashes, is in our control. And I'm going to invite you on a journey one more time that will help us thrive together. And that is the journey, the movement of compassion. And that is Karuna. We are shifting the dialogue of how poverty and abuse takes the toll on those who have been disenfranchised and disadvantaged, and even those who haven't been disenfranchised and disadvantaged. We suffer abuse even when we have a lot of all of the successes around us. Compassion, the compassionate desire to remove suffering, is what Karuna is about. There are 5 ways you can join us. Please visit our website, subscribe to our website at accesskaruna.com. Subscribe to this channel so you can get alerted when a new episode is featured. There are 5 ways you can join us. They're on our website. You can volunteer, you can be an ambassador of wellness, a contributor, you can be a partner, a sponsor, a supporter, or an attendee, and even a volunteer. Please help us in this movement, and in that process, as you witness the suffering of those dissolve in front of you, I promise you, this is a personal experience, your suffering will dissolve with it. That's just the way compassion works. So join us in this movement. Thank you. you.